A question that my Sure for Designs customers ask me quite often is, how do I remove the elbow dot from my sleeve pattern? Now, if you are working with your Sure for Designs dress kit master patterns, that sleeve pattern for woven fabric has got an elbow dot, and that elbow dot is there to just give your sleeve a slight pitch to the front so that you've got a better fit. But sometimes we do work with fabrics where I don't want that elbow dot in. I might be working with chiffon or soft drapey fabrics like my viscose, my rayon fabrics, any soft fabric where I really feel I don't need that dot in the elbow. Now, the pattern work that I am going to share with you is from my online design course on my SureFit Academy South Africa. It is my mix and match sleeve design course where I take you through the steps of designing different sleeve styles that you can then use with your bodice to create all these different styles. Now, as you can see with my blueprint, we do have that elbow dot, and if you also look at your bottom section of that sleeve, you can see that it is slightly pitched forward. Now, that will always give us the best fit when we are working with sleeves, because our arm naturally bends at the elbow, just pitching that bottom part of my arm slightly forward. Now, this is also perfect for our medium weight fabrics. When we are working with our cottons, our linens, we are going to be doing jacket design, maybe with a slightly heavier fabric. This will always give us such a good fit. I do want to touch on a couple of things so that you can always go double check your patterns, making sure that your sleeve pattern is balanced. Now, we are going to be working on our bicep line. You'll see that any of my design work that we are going to do, that bicep line is drawn, and it's taken from underarm point to underarm point. I want you to double check your grain line as well. Grain line is coming with a 90-degree angle out of my bicep line, so please make sure that you are squared off out of that bicep line, and also double check the position of your grain line. That position must be halfway between underarm and underarm. So my measurement for my bicep line is 38 centimeters. So I measure and I make a mark at 19 centimeters, which is my halfway mark, and I go and make sure that that is the correct position. Now, one thing that I also just want to touch on here, because I don't want to confuse you, usually when you do extend your grain line into that cap for your dress kit pattern now, you will find that your shoulder notch will match to that grain line. You'll see that mine is not matching because I'm working with my fitted blueprint, and I do have a forward shoulder. So I've already done the alteration there. So please just ignore where my shoulder point is, because this is according to my body. Now, another thing that we also have to take a look at when we are designing, when I extend my grain line down with a straight sleeve, when I go and draw that hemline for myself, I want to make sure that half of my measurement is to both sides of my grain line. So with mine, for instance, which measures 22 centimeters, I want to make sure that when I extend my grain line and I redraw my pattern now, that 11 centimeters will be to the front of my pattern piece, 11 centimeters of that measurement will be to the back part of my pattern. So that is the things that we are going to look at. And I also want you to go and measure for me now from underarm point to where your hem level is. Mine is 41 centimeter. That is the length that works for my body. And I'm going to make sure when I redraw my pattern now that my finished pattern will measure 41 centimeters, and on that back seam I will also be 41 centimeters. So that is just a couple of things that I do want you to take note of when we are going to make the changes now to our pattern. So first step is going to be extending this grain line down into my hem level. Now, I'm just going to make notes here so that you can follow along. I know that my seam that I've measured is 41 centimeters. So I want to make sure that I do have 41 centimeters after I've done my change to my pattern. And that is about just over 16 inches that I have there. And I know that my measurement there is 22 centimeters. And that 22 centimeters is about 8 3/4 of an inch that I have there. So I'm just making a note so that you can see when I'm working, what I'm working with. Now, first off, like I said, we want to make sure that half of my 22 centimeter measurement is going to go to the front of my pattern. So it's going to go this side of the grain line, and my other half is this side of the grain line. So now I'm going to be taking my 11 centimeters, and that is the half of my 22 centimeters, and I'm going to take it from my grain line, and I'm just going to make a mark for myself, and I'm just doing a mark like that, and I'm going to go to my 22 centimeters, and that is my mark over there. So now that is my marks where I want to draw my seam line to. So I'm just going to go and measure from underarm point, and I'm angling it to that mark that I've made, and I want to go and measure my 41 centimeter. I don't want to go and change the length of my sleeve at this point. So that is going to be my 41 centimeter there, and I'm going to take it from underarm, and I am angling it to that line where I've marked, and I want to make sure, let's just get it straight. I just want to make sure that I am on 41 centimeter as well, and I'm just going through that line. So that is basically where my new hem level is going to sit. So can you see, with going straight, we are bringing that pitch back that we had, so I don't have that slightly off angle hemline that we had with the dart that we've got on our sleeve. I am going to double check myself. I want 22 centimeters, and I'm just double checking because that is now the hem level, the length that I need. And I can see I am 11, I am 22, so I am happy with that measurement. So all I'm going to do now is redraw from that dot to that dot, and because the underarm seam will be the same measurement, 41 centimeters and 41 centimeters, I should be going with my 90-degree angle out of that grain line. We want to make sure that grain line is 90 degree in that bicep line as well as in that hem line that I'm going to be drawing. So that is my new hemline that I have. All I have to do now from this point is just take it back to my underarm point. And I'm going to redraw it from that underarm point. Let's just take it from there. There we go. And that is now the straight sleeve. So if you're looking at, and I just want to loosen this. So if you're looking at my green line, that is now my sleeve that I am going to be working with. So I'm going to also double check myself, and I'm just going to be folding on this grain line. I want to make sure that my seam lines that I did for myself is going to be matching. So let's just see. And I can see through there, they are perfect match. The length is perfect there as well. I don't need to do any changes. I'm happy my sleeve is balanced. I know it's going to be difficult on the camera to see that bottom grain line. I'm just moving it away. But can you see those lines are matching up perfectly? Let's just open the pattern now. So now, as you can see, the green line is my straight sleeve. The blue line is our original blueprint from our dress pattern. And can you see the difference when we bring back that pitch, when we don't have that elbow dart? I just wanted to show you here on my side as well. All my blueprints that I've done, once it's fitted, I do put them on pattern board. And I always have two sleeves for my woven fabrics. I always have my sleeve blueprint for my dart, for my medium weights, my firmer fabrics, and I always have a sleeve as well for myself for that softer fabrics. So I make sure that I do draw my bicep line on there. My elbow line is also there, and I do go right on it that it's for woven fabrics as well. Otherwise I confuse it with my knit sleeve that also doesn't have a dart in it. So that is just my pattern pieces that I always have ready for my designing. So I want you to now go ahead, do these changes. Please balance your sleeve, fold it in half, make sure that that seam line is matching to your front seam line there. Make sure that, again, you are squared out of that bicep line. The grain line there is also going square out of that hem line. That is the balance lines that you are going to double check for me, because when we are designing, these balance lines are going to be very important to help us perfect our patterns.